Hi guys, welcome to David Doherty's Film Studio in Volano Beach. Exciting to be here for another lesson, another week here and teaching my Bishop Kenny health students. Today we're going to just talk about, man, with the weather being so beautiful, I thought we'd do a little bit of a lesson on sun safety. I mean, it's something living in the state of Florida I think we all have to pay attention to. And I know on some of you it's high on your brain, and others of us, we just keep on keeping on and then realize, wow, I got a terrible sunburn. And I've noticed that myself. I did have one other update. A friend of mine is that nurse in New York City who we talked about earlier, and she has a friend who makes clothing, and the friend designed masks. So I bought a couple masks. So I have my safety mask, and it's adjustable, and it's perfect, and it's neoprene, and it's nice, and it matches the BK colors. So, if you feel like it's important, make sure you're wearing your mask and supporting people who are out there trying to live safely. So, if that's something you're into, make sure you're wearing your mask. But on to our topic today. Man, we spend a lot of time outside and we enjoy the sun, and that's probably why your parents, either work or determined, hey, I want to live in Florida because I want to be out and about and I want to enjoy the active lifestyle, biking, running, whatever we're asking you to do. And to go along with our fitness logs, we're asking you to be outside or do some sort of physical activity. So just want to touch today a little bit on sun safety. All this information that was garnered was basically from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. They have a section on protecting yourself from the sun. And I just went on there and did a little research, and I just want to give it to you. So the next time you go outside, maybe you'll think about, hey, lubing up and putting on some good sunscreen and protecting yourself, or wearing a hat and make sure you're protecting your eyes with some good sunglasses. One funny story, whenever I worked for the Jaguars years ago, the story was when the Jaguars first started here, Tom Coughlin would not allow scouts and probably coaches to wear sunglasses because he always wanted to see their eyes. He wanted to see that they were alert and paying attention and all that. And then when I got there, my father-in-law, who worked for the Buffalo Bills at the time, called me and said, hey, don't you remember not to wear sunglasses when you go in there? And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Didn't really understand what he was talking about, but I later found out what. But the first year that I was with the Jaguars, we all got a fresh pair of Oakley sunglasses because Coach Coughlin, got a big signed deal for endorsements with Oakley. So we all had Oakley sunglasses. So that changed how the Jaguars scouts were able to wear sunglasses. So little history tip for you. But today we're thinking about, how many people really plan before they go out to put on sunscreen. I mean, I know I do not. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm going to the beach, then I'm like, oh, I need sunscreen. Oh, I'm going for a walk, I don't think about sunscreen. Oh, I'm going for a bike ride, I don't think about sunscreen. And these are possibly the areas where I'm making my mistake because I need to, man, you soon realize when you're walking on a beach, just going on the beach for a walk, that sun is just beating on you. And I mean, I'll usually wear a hat and sunglasses, but I mean, I've got to do a better job of wearing sunscreen myself, just to protect myself from the cancers that possibly come with too much exposure to the sun. Thing we're worried about are UV rays. There's a UVA and UVB, and most of those rays come from the sun, so that's where you're going to get most of your exposure. Some of it does come from, some people may still go to tanning beds. You see them here in Florida. There's salons that have tanning beds, and there's fitness centers that have tanning beds. And they also have sun lamps where you just go sit in a room and there's a big red lamp or something. Understand that none of those are safe. So you might think, oh, I don't I don't go out and lay on the beach all day and just get sun worship, but I do go to a tanning bed. Well, please understand that that is not a safe alternative. And then we want to talk about, everyone is affected differently. Kind of like dieting and eating and all that stuff. Some people can eat whatever they want and never gain an ounce or a pound. Other people look at food and gain weight. So it's kind of like your body, we're all different, we're all individuals, and it all comes with our genetic makeup. Also, we want to talk about, what can affect your UV exposure. First thing I want to talk about is time of the day. Okay, obviously the highest rate of UV rays is typically between 10 and 4 p.m. So, if you're one of those people who wants to get to the beach early and really just lay out there all day, you're kind of going into the worst time of the day to be there. Maybe you want to limit your exposure to, hey, 8 to 9, 8 to 10, and then get off the beach for a couple hours and then maybe come back after 4 and just enjoy, your activities. I don't know how realistic that is for anybody. When we were younger and when we didn't live here at the beach, man, we were on the beach. We'd get there early, 9, 10, and just stay all day. And it was, the best days of my life. You're thinking about the times you've had when your whole family or your friends are out there and you're doing different things. Hey, maybe we're skimboarding, maybe we're surfing, maybe we're riding our bikes, maybe we're walking. All these activities that you're doing out in the ocean, and it's like you don't even think of the time. It just goes by because you're having such a great time. So time of the day you want to think about. 10 to 4 being the most dangerous for UV rays. Also the season of the year. Okay, obviously the sun exposure you get in winter, October, November, December, is not as strong as March through August. Okay, the time of the season, the time of the year plays a big part in it. Also the season of the year. Okay, the strongest is the spring and the summer. Okay. Also, the altitude. It is worse in higher elevations. Maybe if you live in Denver, Colorado, or areas with high elevation, the sun UV rays are stronger. Also, cloud cover. And we sometimes forget this. You're out there on a cloudy day and you don't even realize, and you come home at 7 o'clock. And I always say 7 o'clock is kind of the time where I notice, oh my gosh, I got sunburn. Your skin starts to feel a little pinkish or reddish, and you just kind of start to feel it. Your skin is a little tighter, and you realize that, whoa, maybe I overdid my sun exposure today. So cloud cover, cloudy days can fool you. Please understand the rays are coming through the sun or through the clouds, and they are affecting you. So even if it's not a bright sun, full sun day, you're still getting some UV rays. Also, reflection off surfaces, and I'm sure anyone who's ever been out boating, man, I think that's my worst sunburn I ever got. I was out, maybe the second worst. I have 2 stories. The first one is just went out on a boat, and I'm up in Chautauqua, New York, which isn't like sunny Florida, but in the summer it got pretty hot. We had a boat. My brother had bought this big cabin cruiser, so we were out on it and just enjoying a great day. We were doing some jet skiing, or I should say water skiing, and just having a typical day on the water. And of course you go home for dinner, and I was totally baked all over red, and it was just turned a great day into a horrible experience just because the pain from the sunburn. And the other worst one was I was sitting at a Jaguar football game. I had a bunch of friends in town, family, so we got the cheapest seats, as a scout. If they were $20, I could get them for 10, or if they were 40, I'd get them for 20, whatever the ticket price was. So I bought about 5, 6, 8 tickets, and we're all sitting up high in those close to the sun seats. And it's a horrible, beautiful sunny day, but horrible. And the top of my thighs, from where my shorts ended to my knee, was just baked red. And one, you're not paying attention, and 2, I don't have sunscreen. What am I to do? But you just want to, you really need to pay attention. So when you're reflecting off surfaces, water, sand, snow, or pavement, there you're really apt to get a pretty good sunburn. One thing I found on the CDC website that I thought was interesting, they have a link for the UV index every day. And I pulled it up, and I put the link on the Schoology account for every period. And just, if you go on there, you feel like it, take a look at it, and you can just get an idea of what the UV is. So I put in my address, which or my zip code, whatever is St. Augustine. And out of the scale goes the UV index. It's EPA developed. It's the higher the number, the bigger the danger. It's 1 to 11 typically, but there's also sometimes it's higher, but they usually say a range from 1 to 11. So I pulled up my zip code today, and today's UV index is a 10. So as much as it's a beautiful day out there, and it's probably part of the reason is there's no cloud cover. I mean, we have a high blue sky, and so the UV index is up there at 10. So people should be aware if they're out and about in the sun. Some other factors that affect your exposure and UVA rays and possible cancer is also the length of time exposed. Okay, some people will just go out in the sun for a little short burst. My mother-in-law, she's graded, and she'll go only out in the sun after 4 o'clock. She kind of goes out on her back deck once the sun is past the peak of her house, so she's in shade. Also, where you live. I mean, it's obviously obvious that factors are going to play into this. How much sun do you get? I grew up in western Pennsylvania out near Pittsburgh. I think at one point they said we had 75 days out of 365 of full sun. So it was like those days you learn to appreciate a sunny day in Indiana, PA, where I grew up. You come down here and it's like, oh, it's another day of 80 to 90 degrees. It's just happenstance. So, do you live in Florida? Do you live in California? Where do you live? Does it have a lot of sun? And that's certainly going to play to it. And also, how many years have you inflicted your body with sunburn? Man, I was a young guy playing soccer. We'd have tournaments every Saturday and Sunday, and I'd come home beet red and be going to school, and I'd be like, hey, what happened to you? And I'm like, well, again, I'm an idiot. I didn't put on sunscreen. I had soccer all weekend. So, what activities are you doing that put you to long exposure to the sun? Also, do you have any family history of cancer or sun issues? Certainly to pay attention to genetics. Now, last part of my discussion is going to be how to protect yourselves. And this information is from the CDC again, and it's also the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. Number one is avoid long exposure. So if you're going to be out and about, just, limit your time out in the sun. That's number one. Number two, wear sunscreen. SPF 15 at the minimum. Brought some examples of, the typical spray. My wife buys this. It is an SPF of 45. This must be one of my wife. She's a tan golden girl. Has the 8 SPF, Banana Boat, you might have heard of. And then when these came out, I thought these were extremely interesting because you just feel like you can do so much. It's the SPF 30, but it's your spray. And I know I had that on the Neutrogena too, but man, when this came out, I think it really made people more aware, and also it's easy application. And it's just like, hey, before you're going out, hey, go out on your front porch and hose yourself down. And then put on your bathing suit or, however you're going to do it. But just put this on 20 minutes before you start getting into the sun, okay? Also, they talk about apply every 2 hours. Sometimes that's forgotten. You get lost in your day, and you just don't even think to reapply. But we want to make sure that we are. And this makes it so easy. I mean, you can just spray head to toe and, just use it. Obviously, sometimes people want to use a different one for their face, maybe, if you different types of skins. But also, understand, this is affected by what your activities are. If you're out swimming in the ocean, well, you might have to reapply. This says, for example, it's water resistant for 80 minutes. So an hour and 20 minutes, you could go in the water, do that, but after that, you better reapply. If you just use it and you aren't in the water, well, then it's probably 2 hours. But obviously, apply your sunscreen. Understand that these lose their potency after a year or two. Okay, you can't just buy one and throw it in your bag and you keep rolling out the same sunscreen for the past 5 years. It doesn't work like that. It does lose its potency. Some people you'll see this a lot, I think, in the performance fishing gear, that kind of clothing. wear SPF clothing. You know, they're now selling shirts, the long fishing shirts, and all that kind of stuff, and that has some SPF, so it's preventing the exposure to the sun, and people are putting it on clothing. So I mean, sometimes you'll see those fishing gear, performance fishing gear, and that kind of stuff. So you might look into that. What type of clothing are you wearing to the beach? Also, sunglasses and wide-brimmed hats. I certainly had one of my favorite hats here, so I wear that a lot when I go out. But this, again, doesn't do anything for my ears. That's why we say a wide brim. Also, it doesn't do anything for my back of my neck, so sometimes you gotta wear it backwards if you want to look like a fool. I wear it forward. So think about a hat. Think about your sunglasses, okay, and all that. So, and lastly, hey, take breaks in the shaded areas. Okay, so when you are out and about in the sun, do you ever just find a area where you can go sit in the shade for a little bit just to cool off? At our swimming pool, we have 2 umbrellas. That's usually where you'll find me, under the umbrella. My wife will be out tanning and that, and I'll do that some too. And I do go out. We have a couple rafts that we put in the pool. I mean, but man, you can certainly get a burn on there. So, but that's what I'm talking about today. So, if you're thinking about going out to your local beach or surfing or whatever you're getting into, make sure you wear sunscreen. Okay, the exit ticket is, please wear sunscreen. Okay, please wear sunscreen. Okay, wear your sunscreen. That is your exit ticket for all you people who email me every day saying, Coach, can't find the exit ticket. Well, here it is, right here on our lecture today. Okay, just to recap, what are some steps we can take? Okay, avoid long exposure. Wear your sunscreen. Reapply every 2 hours. If you're in the water, active in the just sweating or doing whatever, apply it maybe a little earlier. Understand some sunscreens do lose their potency after 1 to 2 years. Maybe wear proper clothing if you're going out on a boat or where there's going to be high reflective. Wear something that's going to protect you. Man, I'll tell you, think about the tops of your feet. It's a bad place to get burnt. Some people somehow get burned on the bottom of their feet too, I guess, if you're out there sunbathing, I guess. But wear a wide brimmed hat, protect your eyes, wear some sunglasses. But best of all, get out there and enjoy the state of Florida. We live in a great place, and hopefully you're making it through our COVID and loving your family and enjoying the time together. I mean, my wife and I, we celebrated a beautiful Mother's Day with my mother-in-law. First thing we did was we went out and planted 2 plants for her, and then we had a wonderful dinner. And hopefully you took some time to appreciate your mother and what's going on in your life. So hopefully it's all good with you. If you have any issues, please don't hesitate to call me, text me. You can get on the every day I do a Zoom phone call or a Zoom call at 9:00 a.m. So get out of bed one time and just stop in and say hello. This is Mr. Doherty, who is living his best life here in Volano Beach, and hopefully you are too, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you soon. Looking forward to graduation, which should be exciting. I mean, you just feel so bad for those seniors who lost on a third or whatever of their final year, which, I mean, there's some fun things that happen, and hopefully they find ways to enjoy each other and see. But it's one of those things that once graduation hits, time changes. Everybody goes their different way, different colleges, different lives, different military, whatever you want to do, and it's just like, wow. appreciate the time you have together and appreciate the time with your family and make the most of it. This is Mr. Doherty signing off for today's lecture. Enjoy your time, Bishop Kenny. Thank you.